Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric up there.
Hello.
And that is Vanessa up there. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi. Oh my God, it's so exciting to be back.
Welcome back.
You've been on vacation. Did you do anything cool while you were out?
Yes. Let me tell you how many times I got stuck with an IV.
Oh.
We begin there. I gave birth to a human being about a week and a half earlier than expected. So that was my adventure. That was my vacay.
I know. How fantastic. And I don't know if you have listened to the other episodes, but everybody congratulating you and Steve and Michael DeBronzo calling in and everything. I thought that was so nice.
That was a great call.
Oh, that's awesome. I will actually have to hunt that down because unfortunately I have not had a lot of sleep. So if I have time to brush my teeth once every 3 days, that's a pretty exciting adventure for me. But I can't wait to listen. And thank you to all the notes that I saw from our different listeners on Facebook that I did manage to see. And that was so kind. And thank you so much, guys. I really, really appreciate it.
Let's see. What's your favorite part right now about being a mom?
Not being pregnant. Yeah, I mean, it's everybody's experience is completely different, but my third trimester was pretty rough. I had a lot of pains and aches, and because you gain like a lot of weight in one specific part of your body, so moving
Quickly.
normally or quickly is like out the window. So having the ability to move around and lift things and drink caffeine and sushi and alcohol and all that stuff is awesome. Like I love that I can just do the things that I used to do. So that's been pretty cool. Also, yeah, having a baby is nice too. So she's great.
The birth went easily or as well as could be expected?
It actually went pretty well. So a lot of times they tell you to expect to be in labor, especially the first time, between 25 and 35 hours, at least. Yeah. And a big chunk of that's the first part. So don't think that the whole time you're pushing. You're not pushing the whole time. You're pushing maybe 3 hours, but like most of the time you're just in like, ow, this sucks, but it's doable. And then it's like, oh, this really sucks and it's doable for like a little window. And then it's like, oh, I'm pushing and it fucking sucks, and it's not doable, but I'm doing it. So for me, it was only 16 hours. So yeah, so it was fast but furious. So a lot of pain, a lot of pain. I got to an epidural before I even did 2 centimeters, and I'm almost ashamed of that because you got to get to 10 before you push. And I gave up real quick. But that shit is the bomb. That stuff, when they're like, we're going to stick a thing in your spine. And that sounds bad, right? That sounds like it's going to suck. But at the time when you're in that much pain, they're like, it's going to be like a bee sting. And you're like, fuck me up. Just do it. I don't even care. Just fucking, get a hatchet in there. It does not matter. So that the labor went very well for a first labor, and she came out in a slightly difficult position, but I didn't know, so it doesn't matter. Recovery time for me is a little longer than normal, but it's all going. I'm just happy she's healthy. Like, she made it here. She's healthy. I created a human being. She has my eyes and my eyebrow shape. And then she has mystery hands. I don't know where they come from. Yeah, they're somebody's hands. They're not mine.
Just 2.
Just 2 enormous hands and enormous feet. enormous, long limbs. She's gonna be fucking tall. So
Nice.
Well, your husband is not exactly a short person, so I have a feeling I
Yeah.
know where
Yeah.
that part came from.
yes, yeah, I cannot wait to see what genes he brings to the table. It's gonna be his people and my people are very different looking people. His people are tall, Viking, blonde, blue-eyed humans. All of them. All of them. I went to a family event. They were all that. And mine are all kind of medium height to short, brown hair, brown-eyed Bavarians. So we're the potato people. We're short enough to get the potatoes out of the ground. That's what we're here for.
Well, we are so glad that you are back.
Yes, it's so good to be here with you guys.
Yeah. Big thanks to Steve for sitting in, and we will see how this goes going forward. I'm hoping pretty soon we can get back to semi-regular in-person recordings.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see how the next couple weeks goes, but I would also love the same thing. Yeah, and it's just, yeah, it's really, really great to be back. I'm so happy to be here.
Yay.
Well, let's just dive right into what we normally talk about, which is pop culture, film, television, cartoons. Band
Are you
Vanessa
saying
and
this to
Miss that I talked
remind
about.
me?
Yes.
Okay. I know I'm tired, but Jesus, guys, I'm aware.
Before you got on, Kelly and I were like, all right, let's make sure we go over all of this stuff. No, not really. Not really, no.
Uh-huh.
Well, I watched something that I bet you guys have played around with, started True Detective Night Country.
Oh, yes.
Not yet.
Oh, you haven't, Eric?
Eric.
No, but I will.
No.
Feel free. Talk as you need.
Well, it's only a couple episodes in so far, but it's quite good. I don't know exactly where they're going with this, but I'm listening to a lot of other people, TV reviewers, podcasters, and stuff like that, saying how they're really leaning into the supernatural on this one. And I think they're going to be very disappointed just because it seems like it's supernatural. And I'm almost 100% sure there's going to be a scientific explanation for what they did. My first thought was that whatever drove the caribou off the cliff and the men into the ice had to be some kind of sonic event that they were playing around with, like the HAARP machinery up there, and it drove people crazy and something like that. But then in the second episode, they started talking a little bit about the biology stuff they were working on up there, and I was like, well, this could also explain it too. So I don't think it's going to be as supernatural as everybody wants it to be. Although, obviously, the ghost of Travis Cole is a supernatural thing, but only one person saw him, so maybe it didn't see him at
Yeah.
all.
That's true. And I mean, I do think that there is something that they're setting it in such a cool location, somewhere where you're going to get rid of all of the light for a certain amount of time. They're counting down the days from the number of days since it's been total darkness. And I know that that can affect people's mental situation pretty heavily. And in season 1 of True Detective, I felt really similar. Like there was a lot of weird, spooky, eerie things. And then it didn't really pan out to some crazy, supernatural event. And I think that you're right. I think maybe this season will be like that. And I was kind of interior laughing every time I saw people were like, it's H.P. Lovecraft, it's Cthulhu, it's blah, blah, blah. I'm like, really? I mean, it is some of the best writing I think I've ever seen on television. It's incredibly well done. There's so many good lines in there, so many great moments, so many nice little surprises and set pieces. And even the corpsicle is just, Eric, when you get to the corpsicle, it's brilliant piece of actual set design. So you're gonna, any of our listeners are gonna absolutely love it. But as far as it actually being supernatural, I think I'm on the same page as you, Kelly. I'm expecting it's gonna be something more rooted in the real world.
So it
I
is
think what's... Oh, go ahead.
episodical. So it just comes out weekly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Cool.
Yeah. So you should be able to catch up.
what's throwing a lot of people off is that it is the showrunner is Issa Lopez, and she is a horror filmmaker. So I think they're thinking that it's going to lean into the horror simply because of that. But even if you remember Tigers Are Not Afraid, which was a brilliant movie, all of that stuff was happening, or maybe it wasn't.
Right.
It could have very well been the girl's imagination that was doing all of that stuff in her own head. And I think Issa is that kind of person. And I also don't think HBO just said, go ahead and do whatever you want with this title. I think that they have a brand there that they're like, it's called True Detective. It's not called Horror Detective or Occult Detective or anything like that. So I think that they'll let people kind of fuck around with the eerie stuff, but they're not going to do something that they come right out and say, kaboom, this is magic or something.
It's a tentacled creature. Ah!
Right.
And by the way, how good is Jodie Foster in this? Like,
So good.
so good. Oh my God. So good.
It's also a
yeah.
strangely horny season. I mean, I guess the first season was pretty horny, but
There's a lot of sex.
the second, there's a lot of sex and Jodie Foster. I was like, wow, this is an interesting route to go.
How so? Because she's lesbian in real life. Is that correct? I don't know.
Well, yeah, not that. It's just that, she is lesbian in real life. But I mean, it's an interesting route to go in that both of the women in this are using the men in their life strictly for sex.
100%.
Okay, here we go.
100%. Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I love when shows do that stuff, especially now. It's like, whatever your expectations are, let's just fuck it up. It's really good. That poor veterinarian, man. I feel bad for him. Well, I'm going to shift gears very slightly. I've seen a lot of stuff, shockingly, a lot of stuff, because I have a shift that I've been doing from 2 a.m. till 6 a.m. and sometimes 7 a.m. So I just put things on. But I'm going to talk about a movie that I did get to do one date night in the last 3 weeks, and I went and saw The Beekeeper.
Oh, no. How is that?
Man, is that a dumb movie? I was trying to put in my bets for how many bees you're going to see in the film, and I was like, I bet there's very little bees. We start with bees and we end with bees. There's less bees than that. But the bee jokes are intense, and this thing goes as far as it can go into this universe. Like, it's like if you took a plot scenario into a kindergarten class and you said, all right, there's a beekeeper, and then somebody else has to say something, and then someone else says something. So, and then he has to get revenge, and then it turns out this, and then it turns out that, and then it goes all the way to the top. And oh my God.
I was just going to say it has to be to the queen bee.
To the queen bee. To the queen bee. 100%. I'm not going to say who the queen bee is, but there's a lot of bee puns. There's a lot of bee ideas within it. And the action sequences are phenomenal. Absolutely well shot, well edited, well cut, well done. Jason Statham feels like a powerhouse of bricks through the whole thing. However, the writing is a piece of shit. And it feels very lazy. And for some reason, they're like, and Minnie Driver's in it for one scene, kind of in the background. And you're like, what? Why are these people? There's a lot of like weirdly famous people in this movie who are not really in this movie. So I think they were just like, yeah, a movie about like a bee guy. Yes, I'll be there. And then not really there. So aside from Jason Statham, don't get too excited.
Well, maybe I won't be catching that.
Oh boy, The Beekeeper. Okay,
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah. So I'll be moving on to one that Kelly has been demanding I watch for a very long time.
Oh.
Ooh.
Can I preface this, Eric?
Yeah.
I sat and tried to watch Barbie a couple weeks ago, and I had a really hard time with it. Made it about 40 minutes in, and I just I was like, why am I doing this to myself? This movie is not for me. This is
Oh.
a silly movie, and I'm happy for everyone who loves it, but it's not for me. And then I thought, you know what? There is a movie with Ryan Gosling on, and it's on Netflix right now. And I watched that instead, and it was a second viewing for me. I loved it, and then I told Eric, "You better fucking watch this."
Because I think it's leaving that. I think it might like a couple
Yeah,
days when this is out. I think it'll be off Netflix.
yeah.
Anyways, I enjoyed it. I did.
Oh,
What
that
is
movie, by
it?
the way,
I
is
thought
La
you
La
said it.
Land.
I thought you said that in there.
Wait, I missed it again. What is it?
La La Land.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
The one that almost won Best Picture but didn't.
Ouch.
Yep.
I thought it was good. It was, yeah, I didn't love it as much as you. I think both of you really, really liked this one. Am I remembering wrong there, Vanessa? Did you?
I found it really depressing.
Okay,
But
so I think you
yeah.
had the same reaction. My wife, on the other hand, had very strong feelings by the end.
Yay.
She said, sent me a text saying, okay, I loved most of that movie, but, and you can quote me on that, the end of La La Land was La La crap.
It's not a happy ending.
Yeah, I guess it fits Hollywood-esque, like Casablanca or something like that.
Yeah.
But overall, I liked it. I thought it was good. It wasn't any. I'll go into your comparison you just made. I liked Ryan Gosling more in Barbie because he was so ridiculous. It was just so against type for him, so far afield of what he normally does. And this was still in his wheelhouse to me. It still felt like what he does, where he plays a fairly even-keeled, got his shit together kind of guy who's just trying to figure stuff out. And he's great in it. And who's in there with him? Who's the
Emma Stone.
Yeah,
Emma Stone
is great in it. It's really good. It's a good movie. I liked it. Glad I finally watched it. But I also was kind of like at the end going, well, damn, man. It's like, I wanted something twist to work out, but
Yeah.
Well, I think that I like the old. I know that you like musicals, Eric, but I think that I like the old Hollywood musicals a lot more. And this was such a love letter to those. My complaint, if any, is only that they let Ryan and Emma sing their own songs. I don't think they've got very good voices.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There was just something about it that spoke to me, probably because, without giving too much away, if you haven't seen this movie, at the end, something happens and it kind of does this whirlwind last act where, it's whatever. But in my life, there have been a couple of relationships that I thought I could have really saved if I had done one thing different earlier on.
Sure.
And so that movie just really spoke to me in that way. I mean, I was bawling on my second viewing. I was bawling when that third act when it hits. And so I would say that you're wrong, and it's an amazing movie.
Yeah, no, I can totally see that, Kelly. Like there's a realness to it, and that's why it stings so much. I think that there is that sort of, it's very relatable and it becomes very grounded. It goes from fantastical and Hollywood and like magical to an extremely grounded experience, and I think that's why it's such a difficult ending.
Yeah. And you, Kelly, bring up a great point about movie watching in general and movie opinion in general, that no matter who's watching that movie, you bring your own life experiences to it. Yeah. So I always find when people like hate a movie, I'm always curious, okay, tell me what movies you love. I always want to hear what movies they really, really like if they really hate something that I think is really good. So I'm always very curious about that. Because Carlos and I last night were going back and forth about Saltburn, and I think he really liked it, and I thought it was good, solid acting, solid directing, a story I've seen a lot. It has that Dances with Wolves problem where it's like, a lot of this movie is really good, but I have really seen it before as a story, a lot. But still, I enjoyed La La Land. I enjoyed Saltburn. They're both good. They're both entirely different. But
Hope so.
I am very glad I finally watched it because it was just one of those big about Hollywood movies, and that aspect of it I liked. I thought that was really fun and occasionally very painful with the audition and wanting to give up and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Anyways.
I'm going to talk about a movie. I had a couple listed here that are brand new, but I'm going to talk about a movie that came out last year, and if I had seen it, probably would have made my top 5 movies of the year. I wouldn't have listed it here because it's not genre. It's on Apple Plus, and it's called Blackberry.
Oh,
okay.
About the phone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That looks good.
And, oh my God, it was so fucking good that I was just like, why did this hit the theaters? I don't think so. I think it was just an Apple Plus movie, and it was so good. It was so nerdy. It was so painful. And everybody was just so fucking great in it that I just was shaking my head at the fact that Apple Plus has, no subscribers. It is the story of the BlackBerry phone. It's the story of the BlackBerry phone, which, at the beginning of the smartphone industry owned 45% of the industry. And by its end, it had 0%. And it is really a really neat, 15-year journey of these nerds who started that RIM company, Research in Motion, and then became BlackBerry and were the kings of the world until the iPhone came out. And then you just watch it plummet. And it's just fucking great acting throughout. I loved it.
Wow.
You're going to recognize a lot of the people in it. Jay Baruchel is the main guy with gray hair, which is kind of odd because that guy's probably 40 now. He still looks like he's about 16. So they put gray in his hair, and now he just looks like a 16-year-old in a theater play where they tried to make him look older. But he's still fucking great in it. So Blackberry on Apple Plus.
Very cool.
Well, gosh, I'm going to talk about something else I really, really enjoyed and discovered, and I cannot recommend this highly enough. I watched on Netflix The Brother's Son. Okay, so yeah, it's another Michelle Yeoh joint, and it's the story of a I think it's in China. I don't think it's Hong Kong. A very important mob family who somebody takes a shot at the father, the head of the mob family, and the son is sent to try and figure out who's behind this, and it leads him to immediately go and track down his mother, who's in hiding in the U.S. in California, and she has the other son, which he has never met before, who's this kind of dopey college dropout, who not even dropout, but he's really struggling, and he's really into improv theater, and not very much like his murderous, perfectly tuned killer brother. And the two end up having to team up through several episodes to try and figure out who is trying to murder their family. It is so fucking funny and so good. It's got the stunt team behind Everything Everywhere All at Once, and a lot of the actors from that as well. The stunt team also was part of Paper Tigers, so I was really excited and recognized a couple of those dudes and was like, I remember when you were like in that police station that we were shooting in. That's crazy. But it's really solid, really well written, really fun, just like a fun martial arts loving show that has great character development. I was trying to figure out where I'd seen these actors from before. And aside from Michelle Yeoh, like the two lead brothers are nobody. They've been in like short films and that's it. So somebody took a chance on these guys and they're fucking incredible. They're both just great to watch. So I'd say check it out. The Brothers Sun, S-U-N.
Brothers
On Netflix.
Sun.
On Netflix.
Cool. Alrighty, well, I ran across a real find, I think, a really interesting, creepy, dark film called Sleep Tight, which I was looking at Canopy for some reason, and it was on there. I was like, yeah, sure, let's check it out. But it's on Canopy, and I think it's on Tubi as well. The story is a concierge of a nice but not super, super nice apartment complex in Spain. It's a Spanish film. His joy, I guess you could call it, is when he makes other people horribly miserable. So he's messing with the people in there to the point where the one person he can't get to, who's just extremely optimistic woman that he just can't drive nuts, so he's the one he focuses on for most of the movie, to the point like where he's sleeping under her bed to do stuff, which that starts fairly early in the film, and then it escalates from there. And the acting's great. I believe, I think this is by the person who directed the original Wreck.
Oh.
So suspense abilities are on point, and really, really highly recommended, called Sleep Tight. So
I think I saw a trailer for this, or maybe I'm thinking of a different one. Is there any kind of supernatural thing that is also occurring?
no,
Okay.
this is all him doing stuff.
That's a horrible
like
thought.
Yeah, it is uncomfortable.
Well, groovy guys, how about we take a little break, and then when we come back, we're still in, wait a second, what's the date? Oh my God, we're in Fangruary now.
Fangruary.
Now. Okay. Hold
So,
on.
we'll be right back.
Oh. Sounds good.
Count Chocula presents Mickey. Something happens to Mickey at daylight.
Chocolate!
The chocolate monster in him comes out for a bite
Chocolate!
of that double chocolatey delight.
Count Chocula!
All right! Chocolatey cereal with chocolatey marshmallow bats satisfies a chocolate monster in no time flat. The monstrously good part of a complete breakfast. If you crave chocolate too, Count Chocula can satisfy the chocolate monster in you.
We have returned after a little bit of technical difficulties there. Listener, you may be aware that we are into Fangruary, which is more vampires. So I'm not sure how much longer I can do this, to be honest. I'm getting vamped out.
Hey.
No.
But I'm going to start us off first by bringing the timer that I remembered to bring in.
No.
And
This is something I did not miss.
setting it to 10 minutes. And I'm going to talk about a little movie called Martin.
My name is Martin. I'm 84 years old. People think I'm crazy when I tell them how old I am. I'd like to be normal. I just have a sickness. The only way I can survive is by drinking blood. It's not easy living the way I do. I have to be careful all the time. But I'm pretty good at it. I think as I get older, I get better. I haven't been caught yet.
Martin, another kind of terror.
You see, people don't understand what's wrong. They think that I'm a monster. They think I'm a vampire. realize that those things I see in the movies are not real. I don't have a whole lot of women. It's nice to watch them. I watch them a lot all the time. I have to be sure that nothing goes wrong. I follow them. I plan. I'm very careful. I have needles now. I can use them. I can put them to sleep. And it doesn't hurt.
Martin, another kind of terror.
I would like to be like everyone else. I have to do things that I don't necessarily like to do. But I want to stay alive. I do need blood.
From the director of Night of the Living Dead. Martin, another kind of terror.
From 1977. You guys have both seen this, I assume?
I have.
I barely remember it, but yeah.
This was, I would call this maybe a first time viewing for me. I did try to watch this when I was like 13 and I couldn't make it through it. 1977 has a budget of, well, it was listed as $250,000. And then I found a closer budget that was probably $80,000. And I think I've got some trivia about that. Could find no box office information, but the Rotten Tomatoes critics have it at 90% and the audience has it at 77%.
Wow.
It was written and directed by George Romero, who has 25 directing credits, including Night of the Living Dead and its 5 sequels. Creepshow, Night Riders, The Crazies, Monkey Shines, The Dark Half. And stars John Amplas, who has 22 credits, including Dawn of the Dead, Night Riders, Creepshow, etc., etc. You guys getting what I'm laying down here?
Mm.
Also stars Lincoln Mazel, who has only 3 credits, but he was also in The Amusement Park, which was that weird promo film that Romero did that was just released recently. And Sarah Venable, who has 4 credits, including Dawn of the Dead. This also stars Christine Forrest, Elaine Nadeau, Tom Savini, Francine Middleton, and George Romero in a small role. Okay, you guys, Martin. Craig, I know you love this film.
Uh-oh.
We're introduced to the hero of our film, or I guess at least his namesake, Martin, as he is traveling on an overnight train from Indianapolis to Pittsburgh. Martin is young and he's acting very nervous, and he targets a woman very quickly. And when she retires to her cabin, this is an overnight train, he sneaks in while she's in the shower and waits for her to come out. He then attacks her quite clumsily, finally sedating her with a syringe full of something. And when she finally succumbs, he lays her out on the travel bed, takes a razor, lays down next to her, and slices her forearm, and then proceeds to drink from it. And she dies as she slowly bleeds to death. So then he cleans up the cabin, tidying it back up and setting the scene to make it look like she committed suicide. I'm not sure if it's supposed to look as amateurish as it does, but it certainly wouldn't fool any current day police officers that this was a suicide. So the next morning, he's met at the train station by his elderly cousin, and he tells her at one point that he is much older than he looks, 83 to be precise. And she doesn't quite believe him. And we get a few scenes that are either flashbacks or memories or just fantasies of like religious icons and vampiric attacks and mobs of people carrying torches. And these are pretty cool scenes. I was like, this is shot nicely. They look cool. They work cool. But we can't tell if any of this is real. But we suspect not, based on how inept a vampire Martin actually is. From there, Martin moves on to Pennsylvania, where an old man has agreed to give Martin a room to live in his house alongside his granddaughter, Christina. The man is an old Lithuanian Catholic, and when Martin starts acting like a vampire, the old man treats it pretty seriously, using garlic and a crucifix to try and repel him. Martin just makes fun of him, and even the granddaughter is pretty sure that Martin just needs some psychiatric help, which he is vehemently opposed to. Up to this point, the movie is moving at a speed just over 0 miles per hour, but it picks up a little bit when Martin starts calling into a radio DJ who dubs him the Count, and then the listeners are loving it when he calls in. So Martin starts working for the old man at his grocery store. Also, this makes no sense to me. The old man is scared of him, gives him a job, and he's delivering groceries. And one of these times he delivers to this beautiful woman and fixates on her and decides she's going to be his next target. The attack on her goes awry, though. He thought she'd be alone because her husband was gone, but turns out she is having an affair. So he has to deal with two people and eventually prevailing, I suppose, not in the way he thought he would, but he gets to feed. And this was the high point of the movie for me. It is a pretty stressful attack scene that goes wrong, and it looks like he's going to get caught. So there's that scene in Let the Right One In where the guy tries to kill the kid in the car or something like that. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's one of those things where you're suddenly caught rooting for the bad guy. You're like, oh fuck, what are you gonna do now, you fucking idiot? So I actually liked this scene quite a bit, but then from there it is a slog to the end with moments of botched exorcisms and Martin eventually wearing a cape and plastic vampire teeth like you'd get at the old toy stores in the 70s. And he even attacks a couple of homeless men and narrowly escapes the police. The ending is pretty solid, which I'm not going to get into, but it takes a goddamn long time to get there. So, Craig, I didn't care for this movie. I know you love it, and a lot of people do. But I will just say this, Craig. You have pretty suspect taste in films, and you know this. So anything you say has to be taken with a grain of salt. I've got some trivia on this, though. The original cut of the film ran nearly 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'll just say this. It felt like the 98-minute version was 2 hours and 45 minutes. Wow. But as of 2021, this version has never been screened publicly and was considered lost until it was rediscovered through the efforts of Romero scholar Kevin Crease and the Living Dead Museum. Producer Richard P. Rubenstein cameos in the film as the husband of the cheating housewife victim. Romero's mother-in-law, star Christine Forrest. Wait a second. Romero's mother-in-law, which was Christine Forrest's mother, appears in the film as one of the women shopping at the old man's store. Romero's father-in-law also has a role in the film as the priest that the old man brings in to Martin during the exorcism scene. And then Judith Martin of the Washington Post criticized the film's depiction of violence as well as the critical assessments regarding the film's underlying themes, such as alienation and satire of the literary vampire, writing, Martin is pretentious in a way that pornography is when it's dressed up for people who don't want to admit to their taste. We're not really coming for that, it seems to say. That is just there because it's an integral part of the story.
Oh, my.
I guess I didn't write down what I'd found out about the budget, which was it probably did only cost about $80,000, but the producer was not going to tell anybody that they could just make a movie for $80,000. So he bumped it up the budget to $250,000 because he thought that's what the film kind of looked like was spent on it. And I agree. It's shot well and mostly looks nice. It's just, it's not for me. This is a movie I think could benefit from a remake. I think that we could get a little deeper into the psyche of these people who like to pretend they're vampires, and you could, dress somebody up pretty dangerously as someone like this now, and I think it would have a little more heft to it. But critics, 90%.
Yeah,
I mean, 90%. Heavy. I'm not sure where the fuck they're coming from. That was my movie. I've got 1 minute left, and here goes the buzzer.
Cool.
Vanessa, you want to go next?
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Get back into the swing of things. So the movie that I chose for my vampire flick was one that I had kind of seen, it's one of those things that you see in library shelves and you just think, one day I'm going to watch this movie. And that was today. I went with 1985's Once Bitten.
Kendall's a regular guy.
Get me out of here!
with normal problems.
I want to, but I want it to be special.
But Mark's just discovered
Hello, tall, dark, and handsome.
that his one-night stand
I haven't had anything this pure since the Vienna Boys Choir hit town.
has been around for centuries.
I'm 390 years old.
400 if you're a day.
Mark Kendall is necking
Finally happened.
with a vampire.
Did I enjoy it?
Now he's losing his girl,
Bit my lip.
his customers,
Get out of here!
his image,
Look, I'm not there.
and his mind.
Oh, wow, I love your outfits.
I'm not wearing a costume.
Mark's got to choose
It's like you're not the Mark I thought I knew. You look like Jerry Lewis.
between his first love
I'm the owner of the pants you've been trying to get into for the last 4 years.
and his last date.
How would you like to spend eternity with me?
I can't. I gotta go to college.
Before his future goes up in smoke.
How'd you like your crotch set on fire? Ooh, rough trade.
Nothing is sacred in a tasty comedy
Can I have one of those uncooked ones?
you can sink your teeth into.
How was it?
Delicious.
Once bitten,
I don't want to be a vampire. I'm a day person.
This has. Have you guys seen this movie?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah. This has a Rotten Tomato score of 10% from critics, 39% from audience, a budget of $3.2 million, and a box office of $10 million, and that's from the U.S. and Canada. This was directed by Howard Storm, who has 52 credits to his name. It's a lot of TV. Also, he did like Mork and Mindy, Full House, Kenan and Kel, Major Dad, Everybody Loves Raymond, a lot of those like 90s and 80s TV sitcom shows. Starring Lauren Hutton, who has 61 credits to her name. I was trying to figure out like what I knew her from, and I saw her credits included American Gigolo and 54, Gator, Zorro, the Gay Blade, and 21 episodes of something called CPW. But finally, Someone's Watching Me. That's what I knew her from. I was like, of course, the Carpenter TV movie that I absolutely adore. Anyway, so Lauren Hutton's very cool. Jim Carrey, 65 credits to his name. We all know him. The Mask, Eternal Sunshine, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and something we've talked about on the show, which is Cable Guy. And then Cleveland Little is also in this. He's probably the only other recognizable face. 63 credits to his name, including Blazing Saddles, Vanishing Point, Fletch Lives, and some TV roles as well. So the story of this, Mark Kendall just wants to get laid. He's a high school kid in a long-term relationship with his girlfriend, Robin, who just plain won't give out. We open on the scene of them making out in an ice cream truck, which is obviously Mark's truck. It's his job. There are two high school kids. He is desperately trying to get her to go all the way with him, and she just is refusing. So finally, he gives up. He steps out into the parking lot, and all the cars around him are bumping and grinding away because everyone else is having sex except Mark. His two best friends, however, convince him that, you know what? Don't worry about your long-term girlfriend not having sex with you. Let's go out on the town, aka downtown LA, and find a beautiful woman to have sex with you. There's a ton of women out there. We'll just find one who will just do it with you. And then you can go back to your relationship. So that seems like a totally reasonable thing to do. And they go to a speed dating bar where there's like all these weird lip phones from that era. They're like shaped like the lips. And you can call different tables and flirt with people and have them come over. Mark gets a call after a lot of bad luck with a beautiful, beautiful woman from across the bar. She insists when he gets there that he calls her the Countess. And then, of course, suddenly something happens. The cops are called in. The place goes insane because a crazed husband shows up to find his wife who's been cheating on him. And the Countess whisks Mark away to her basically like castle mansion kind of thing. Very 80s chic kind of place, high fashion. And then she kind of pretends to perform a sexual act on him. He thinks that they have ended up having sex, but what's really happened is she has stuck out her teeth because she's really a vampire, and she is sucked from his thigh. He passes out, and the next morning she's like, yeah, we totally did it. And he's like, cool, I'm not a virgin anymore. Rad. So she is a 400-year-old vampire who's maintained her immortality through the act of drinking blood from a young male virgin 3 times before Halloween each and every single year. She has a crew of followers who help her out to make sure that she gets this done each year, not only to help her look beautiful and immortal, but to stay under her protection. She also has a loyal manservant who is a sassy, flaming black man who will do anything for her, and he is very, very fun to watch. So she must bite Mark specifically because he's the virgin she's chosen 2 more times. Not 3 virgin men all across, just 1 virgin 3 times, and it can't be 3 in a row. And the rules of this movie are very sketchy. Meanwhile, Robin discovers Mark's transgressions and breaks up with him. He chases after her. And in the meantime, the Countess is chasing after him. He starts wearing black. He finds he enjoys the taste of blood and raw meat, and his reflection seems to come and go. So it seems that maybe by the 3rd time that he gets bitten, he may also become a full-fledged vampire. This movie culminates in a dance battle at the high school Halloween bash, where the 2 women fight for Mark's affection. The Countess ultimately steals Robin, and Mark must get her back. So will Mark be able to save Robin from the Countess and her cultists? Will his 2 best friends end up in the most cringy homophobic locker room scene ever to grace the silver screen, where people are literally shouting the F word over and over again at them when they go to check his thigh for bite marks? Woof, you guys, that is the Will Mark figure out he needs to lose his virginity before the stroke of midnight on Halloween so that the film can end with him and Robin getting at it in a casket, rocking away, only to end up having the Countess open it up and be appalled because her plans have shriveled into nothingness, and she hobbles away in her old age. Tune in to Once Bitten to find out. This script is bad and lazy, like really bad and really lazy. There are so many plot holes. Like I mentioned, why doesn't she have to go for 3 virgins? His 2 best friends are also clearly virgins who can't get laid. So it would be great if she had to go for all 3 of them. I think that would be a much better story. Why does she kidnap Robin? And how come we don't really see it happen? She's just gone, and then all of a sudden he's rescuing her. Why do they need to check his thigh at all? They could just ask him, or his girlfriend could ask him, but instead his girlfriend asks his best friends to check after she has a serious conversation with him about being a vampire. There's just a lot of weird baked concepts going on in here. Also super problematic between the gay scene in the locker room, and also when Jim Carrey runs into the sassy black man, he puts out his fist and tries to call him Blood. Just like, cool beans, yo. I'm glad we're past this time. You do see a lot of the future Jim Carrey in there, lots of physicality and facial flexibility going on in his performance. The Halloween dance-off between the 2 women who are trying to get him to come to them, between the Countess luring him with her magical powers and his girlfriend being like, hey, yo, remember me that you dated for all these years? It is such a fucking fun scene. Like, that alone is kind of the best part of the whole film, I think. Plus the Halloween dance, just the costumes are really fun. I was like almost taking notes, like, man, those are some cool costume ideas. I love this. They also have a theme song where it's like, once bitten, do. It's terrible. It's terrible. Feels phoned in. I'm like, this was your theme song? You guys should have paid somebody else. A little bit of trivia. By the time this film was released, writer Jeffrey House had blown through his initial earnings and had to take a job as a video store clerk. One day, an oblivious customer remarked to him, "Whoever wrote this shouldn't be working in Hollywood," and an incensed House retorted, "You got your wish." The role of the Countess was actually written for Cassandra Peterson, better known as, of course, the TV hostess Elvira.
Nice.
Screenwriter Jeffrey House campaigned for Michael J. Fox to star in this film, but the executive producer, Samuel Goldwyn Jr., was convinced that Fox would never be able to carry a big screen movie. Jim Carrey's first leading role in a Hollywood feature film as this film, and the movie was retitled in various countries. Translated titles include Seduction Has Teeth in France, Vampires Forever in France. Oop, did the timer go off?
That's the timer.
Virgin Boy Wanted in Brazil, I Love a Vampire in Argentina, Just One Bite in Hungary, and Kiss Princess in Poland. And that's it. That's all I got.
This is a bad movie.
It's a bad movie. It's a really bad movie.
A strange choice for a comedy fan, too. Such as yourself.
You know? Or maybe it's the perfect choice because I wouldn't have enjoyed it if I was a comedy fan, I don't think. It's pretty rough.
Was are you
yeah.
telling us that Cleavon Little was the sassy gay assistant?
He was.
Wow. I don't remember that part at all, but the movie is so bad.
I was looking for any gems that I could hold on to get myself through this thing.
Sorry.
And so it's my own fault. You guys like made the funniest little like sad face, hilarious laughing emojis when I said I was going to watch this movie. So I should have known, but I persisted anyway. So
I think better than this, but not much, is Love at First Bite with George Hamilton. There was a string of those vampire comedies. I don't know why, but that was the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe I'll keep an eye out for that if I want to invest some time into a comedy and see whether or not I find it funny.
It's got at least, it's got one of the more memorable lines from any vampire. You know, the creatures of the night. Shut up.
Oh, right. That's fun. I like Monster Squad. That's a comedy.
And that's true. Yeah.
Yep. Good. Okay.
Eric, I'll put 10 minutes on for you.
And I'll be talking about one no one's heard of. There you go. It's called I Like Bats.
Tak żyć nie można, Izo. Przecież ktoś musi ci się podobać.
Nie, nikt. Wczoraj w Lasku Kalifornijskim zamordowano młodą kobietę. Tutaj jest napisane, że to morderstwo na tle seksualnym. Załuj mnie.
Piękna wampirzyca i jej mordercze uzależnienie.
Ja jestem wampirem.
A ja psychiatrą.
To jest tylko wytwór twojej wyobraźni. Wampiry nie istnieją.
A teraz powiedz, kim jesteś naprawdę?
Jestem wampirem.
W cyklu Demony i Grzesznice lubię nietoperze Grzegorza Warchoła.
Ciociu, znowu?
W lutym w telewizji Kino Polska.
From 1986.
I have not heard of this one.
No, not surprised. It has no ratings. It has 2 reviews total on Rotten Tomatoes. No idea what the budget is. No idea what the box office is. I believe it's currently available on Shudder and Tubi. It might be for rent as well. And I did myself no favor here by picking a Polish film. So let's see how this goes. Directed by Grzegorz Warshall, who directed 11 other Polish films. I'm not doing that. Written by Krystyna Kofta, who wrote David and the Magic Pearl and Femina. Grzegorz was also a writer on this. He had 3 other writing credits. Moving on. Actors. Katarzyna Walter, Out of Reach, Spellbinder, Land of the Dragon Lord. You know, these are all movies I'm sure we've all seen. Marek Boberschwitz, who's still working today doing voiceover work, more than 80 credits, almost all Polish. And Małgorzata Lorentowicz. did a bunch of Polish movies. This one continues my I've got this on Severance, so I should watch it series from the box set House of Psychotic Women. So this movie opens with the credits, and there's this really strange whistling tune, or somebody's whistling, this reoccurs throughout the film occasionally, and it's good whistling, but it's odd because it's kind of jovial and creepy at the same time, so it's really interesting. But the rest of the opening credits are you watching bats hang and eat fruit. So, if you like bats, it's cute. So it starts with a niece and her aunt discussing the potential curse of a painting that has fallen and broken. And the niece is whatever, and the aunt's very much, oh, this is a problem. As the niece leaves, the aunt leans the painting up against something, and then it falls over and thoroughly crushes. So like, oh. They run a curiosity shop, I guess you'd call it. They sell things like divining rods and teacups that look like bats, and have a full-size motorcycle in the middle of the shop, which wouldn't be too bad if the shop was not a little larger than a walk-in closet. So the motorcycle is half the store. It's very bizarre. A gentleman caller shows up who is clearly a friend of the aunt and is having fun time with his prop humor, trying to make her laugh and lighten up. And the guy looks very much like Rip Taylor. So the humor is intensified by his appearance. Exactly, yes. A man shows up to ask I think it's a police officer, but I don't remember him ever really identifying himself. But he starts asking them about some murders that have been committed, strange strangulations. But they, of course, say nothing about it. I don't know. And in reality, they actually don't, which you find out soon. Scene kind of changes as the niece, known as Isabella, is heading to the bus, and then she goes out into the middle of the woods and is playing with bats, basically. Goes out to this abandoned building or something and plays with bats for a while and kills the man that followed her there and drinks his blood. So she is the vampire. She heads home and is attacked by the strangler. She kills him and has another nice little meal. It sounds goofy the way I'm describing it, but it's actually pretty good. This is a fun film. The whistling shows up again as after the killing is this kind of cheerful, haunting thing of the streets of whatever city this is. A man shows up in her shop and he's kind of David Bowie looking. And Isabella is smitten. She is deeply attracted to this guy right away. And she's discussing things with her aunt while Isabella stares at him. And he wants to buy this tea set. And the aunt's like, well, that's not for sale. And Isabella, oh, no, you can buy that. So he buys that. And the aunt goes back upstairs. Isabella's following shortly behind, the two of them talking. You don't see the aunt, but when Isabella sits down, the aunt is floating above her. So they continue to chat. But yeah, there is a strange sense of humor in this film. There's a lot of weird little comedy in it. And she kills another guy, taking him out into the woods, or she kind of dresses up as somebody else and does the car over the edge behind her, and hear the giant explosion with her walking away in the foreground moments. Like, this is so oddly out of place to the whole film, but it's cool looking, so why not? So she decides she's going after this David Bowie looking guy and discovers he's actually a psychologist that runs a fairly large, very large asylum, for lack of a better word. I don't know what they call it. Thank you. But it's huge. It's this gorgeous castle. The description about the movie says it's a example of romantic fairy tale, but also eclectic architecture. And it is just wild. It is so neat looking. But she goes there to try to get treatment, ostensibly, but she's there to hit on him, more or less. And neither of those things are done very well. So she knows she's a vampire, but He doesn't believe her, of course. That's obviously your delusion. They do a thing where they try to hypnotize her, and a great shot of the man working on her, trying to hypnotize her, and the camera moves around, and you can see him in the mirror, but she's not visible. Really well done. And for some reason, they take x-rays of people in this asylum. She can't be x-rayed. And they actually lie to her about that. Trying to say, no, we got your x-ray. She's like, okay. But she gets fed up with that and decides she's just going to leave the asylum, so she leaves. While on the subject there, since I'm comparing the way people look like people, the lead actress in this has a real strong Catherine Deneuve mixed with Sigourney Weaver look. And she could have been right out of The Hunger, the way this movie works in so many ways. But after she leaves the asylum, what will happen next? Will people learn of her affliction? Will they see the motorcycle in the shop? Because nobody ever mentions it. Will she play with more bats? Does she love the doctor? Does the doctor love her? All of that will be revealed in this film. Like I said, it's got an interesting look to it, and it also has a little bit of that From Dusk Till Dawn effect, where the first half of the movie where they're in the shop and talking seems very fun and almost family-like, while the second half, or when she goes to the asylum, is a really dark, strange film. The similarities of The Hunger are not rare. The lead being a blonde vampire controlling a world definitely falls into there, but it also has really good cinematography with some amazing bright colors, but also incredibly atmospheric dark lighting and dark scenery at times. It's really neat. The asylum is a castle in Poland, so it is a real place. There was a resurgence in Polish vampire lore because of the Vampire the Masquerade. I don't know quite what the Polish vampire lore is different from regular, because it seems fairly, doesn't cast reflections. I don't think they did religious iconography of any kind. But the movie screened at the Fantasia International Film Festival. And I'll wrap it up right here. It's one of a series of films presented by Kayla Janice, I think is how you say her name, or Janice. Helped celebrate the release of the second edition of House of Psychotic Women, an autobiographical topography of female neuroses in horror and exploitation films. She works with Severin now, too. And that is a hell of a book. It is a really, really interesting read, where she traces her life using the movies she was watching at the time to talk about what she was going through, which was pretty horrific. I like bats. I like this movie.
Remind me what the year was?
That it came out? 86.
Yeah. 86. Okay, so only 4 years after The Hunger anyway.
Yeah. And the Polish setting, which happens a lot in European-based movies or Soviet bloc films, is it doesn't feel 80s. It doesn't feel American 80s. It feels much closer to late 70s as far as the look and the way it's shot. But it's pretty solid. It definitely deserves to be seen more than 2 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
You could be that third review.
That's right.
That's right, Eric. Jeez. Okay, so, but this movie didn't benefit from the release of Vampire the Masquerade because that came out after 86, right?
No, just Polish vampire mythology was referenced by some of the makers of this movie because Polish vampires, it's rare. You don't see a lot of Polish horror films to begin with, much less vampire movies. So it's a fairly unique film, and just the eclectic nature of vampiric mythos there, I guess. Watching the movie, I couldn't tell you what was Polish-centric to it, but apparently there is some stuff.
Oh, cool. I'm glad somebody enjoyed their movie this year, or this week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so we know that we're in Fangruary, so we're going to be doing vampires again next week. So instead of picking a topic, this is the part where I tell everybody thanks for liking and sharing posts, for getting on the Strange Eons radio talk page and discussing, the movies you've been watching and all that stuff. Carlos is still putting up his whack reviews.
So good.
For leaving us a message on the Strange Eons radio hotline, which is 253-237-4266. And also for participating in the value for value model, which is basically if you get some kind of value out of this, go ahead and give us some kind of value back. You decide what that value is. We can't tell how much you like the podcast. You can only tell that. So I think that's it, guys. We are going to be back in 7 short days. We're talking vampires again. I'll see you next Thursday.
Transportation and other considerations for Strange Eons Radio produced by Pan Am Airlines. When you think of traveling, think of Pan Am. You can't beat the experience. Guests of Strange Eons Radio stay at Econo Lodge Everett. It's an easy stop on the road, if you know what we mean. Strange Eons Radio is recorded live in front of a studio audience. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a positive review on your favorite podcast app. Sit, Ubu, sit.
Hi! Oh my God, it's so exciting to be back.